Hi folks, Chuck here again. I had a whinge quite recently about people not reading the specs for anthologies because I'm coming up against a lot of submissions to an anthology I'm editing at the moment where people clearly haven't read the specs or at least not read them carefully. The advice there was, read the specs carefully, put your submission together, read them again before you actually submit your submission. And that way, you're not going to basically you're not going to annoy the editor because you've already got so much working against you. Even assuming that you've got an amazing story that you're trying to sell or an amazing novel or book of some sort, you don't want to do anything to piss off the person who is potentially going to buy this bit of writing from you any more than you'd want to piss off a potential employer. But I feel like I've got to have a bit more of a rant, and it's the same thing. It's reading the specs, but more specific than that. I'm now about halfway through reading for the anthology. All the submissions window is closed. I've received all the submissions I'm going to receive. There's a lot of them, so it's taking up a lot of my time. So maybe my patience isn't where it should be, but above all else, all the other stuff that I've already addressed. Whether it's fonts that you use or the layout or the format in which the file that you submit is submitted, that sort of thing. Make sure that the piece of work you're submitting actually fits the theme of the anthology. I've already rejected about half of the submissions that I've read. I've also got a lot of amazing submissions that I'm really looking forward to sending out sort of some acceptance emails for those and contracts and what have you. Of the ones that I've rejected, very few of them were because the writing was not up to par. Very few. Most of them I've rejected because it's very clear that the author didn't understand what the theme was about. To the point, and I got so many of these, that I actually went back and looked at the specs that I'd written, thinking, did I not make it clear enough? And the answer is yes, I made it very clear. The name of the anthology tells you what the theme is. Then there's basically a kind of a knocked up blurb that tells you what the theme is. Then there was an introduction to the specs that says this is what we're looking for. Then it went on to say this is what we're not looking for, and then reiterated, really broke down in the what we're looking for, specifically what we're looking for, what you need to be doing with your story in order to make it fit this theme. And the theme is very niche. It's basically science fiction horror, but where the humans are the source of the horror, not the aliens. So aliens are being terrified by, humans from Earth. Ooh, boogie boogie. So many of these stories that I've rejected are just straight science fiction stories. There's no horror in them. And some of them, there's no aliens. There's a couple where there's no humans. And again, I'm kind of, I assume it's not just happening to me. I mean, if this has happened this much to me, then I can imagine this is something that a lot of editors have to deal with. But it really absolutely boggles my mind that you would send something to an anthology without making sure your story fits it. For example, I've got a number of stories sitting in my still to be published folder because I haven't found the right anthologies for them. They're not necessarily niche, but for example, I've got a haunted house story waiting to go out. I've got a kind of a cosmic horror one going out. And when anthologies come up, I mean, there's also magazines I could send them to, and then there's also unthemed anthologies and magazines you can send things to. But if, for example, something came up and, an anthology call out came up and said, oh, we're looking for ghost stories that are also Halloween stories. And if I was to look at my story and go, well, it's a ghost story, nothing to do with Halloween, I'm simply not going to send it. It doesn't fit the remit. And there's almost I'm also almost wondering if some of these authors just send it out to everyone on the off chance someone will pick it up. I can tell you right now, no, that's not how it works. It really quite made me quite angry. This is me angry. Yeah, I know it's not terrifying or anything like that, but don't send stuff that doesn't fit what they're asking for. Just like you wouldn't turn up to, um, an engineering job and say, "Well, I'm a really good DJ. Um, hire me." Look, maybe it's obvious to me and it's not obvious to other people, but feel free to pop your thoughts down there. It's a free country, I expect. But yeah, look, for the record, if I have a themed anthology and you send me something that does not fit the theme at all, it's not going to get published. I'll read it, because often with these horror stories, the twist comes at the end, so you have to read it, or you can't just get halfway through and go, "Well, I haven't come across any horror left yet, or I haven't come across aliens yet, or whatever it is." But honest to God, that just makes me more cross that I've had to read an entire story and waste my time on something that was never gonna make it in after all. There you go. There's my rant. I might go and shout at some bins now, because that's what we old people do.